The year was 1451. In the bustling coastal city of Genoa, Italy, a baby boy was born into a hard-working but modest family. His mother lovingly named him Christopher Columbus. No one could have imagined that this child would one day redraw the map of the world. Columbus's father, Domenico Columbus, was a weaver, a humble artisan who spent long hours working with threads and cloth. His mother, Susanna Fontanarossa, was a simple and patient woman who raised her children with love and quiet resilience. They were not rich often, meals were simple and luxuries were non-existent. But what they lacked in wealth, they made up for in values, discipline, faith and dreams. Young Christopher was quiet but curious. Whenever he visited the harbour with his father, giants that floated across the sea, he would sit for hours watching sails rise and waves crash. One day he asked his mother, "Is this all there is to the world?" She smiled and replied, "The one who dares to dream, my son, is the one who changes the world." Columbus never received formal education, like the rich boys of Genoa. But he had an insatiable thirst for knowledge. He taught himself to read and write. He spent hours in the city library reading old maps, sea charts, and the writings of explorers. One day he came across a world map that only showed Europe, Asia and Africa. He whispered to himself, "This cannot be. The ocean is vast. There must be something beyond it." That question planted the first seed of a dream, to discover what lies beyond the ocean's horizon. By age 14, Columbus boarded his first ship, not as a sailor, but as a helper on a merchant vessel. The ship sailed toward France, and though the voyage was short, it left a lifelong impact. The winds, the stars, the creaking wood, the salt in the air, these became his first teachers. He learned to read the sky, understand waves, and respect the sea. Columbus traveled to Lisbon, Portugal, then considered the world's hub of navigation and exploration. He joined circles of astronomers, map-makers and sailors. He studied the works of Ptolemy and Marco Polo. The more he learned, the more convinced he became of one idea. If the Earth is round, one can reach Asia by sailing west. At the time, this was a radical theory. Most believed the world ended at the sea, with monsters and a drop into nothingness. But Columbus believed in science, courage and God, love, loss and determination. He married Felipa Moniz, the daughter of a former sailor. They had a son, Diego, and lived a modest life. But tragedy struck early. Felipa passed away, leaving Columbus with grief, a child, and a deeper drive to fulfill his purpose. Searching for support, he sought funding for his journey to the West. Portugal rejected him. He went to Spain, where he pleaded before King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. Years passed in refusal and disappointment. But Columbus never gave up. Finally, in 1492, the Spanish crown agreed to sponsor his voyage. They gave him 3 ships, Niña, Pinta, and Santa Maria. His moment had come. August 3rd, 1492. 3 small ships set sail from Palos, Spain. Columbus led about 40 men. They were not just sailing west. They were sailing into the unknown. Columbus kept a journal, recording stars, winds, and sea conditions. He promised to reach the east, but deep down, he was chasing something even bigger. Weeks passed with no sign of land. The sailors grew anxious. Fear spread. "We'll fall off the edge of the earth. Turn back before we die." Some threatened mutiny, but Columbus stood firm. "Just a few more days, then you will see what I've seen in my dreams." October came. One sailor spotted a floating tree branch. Another saw birds flying in formation. Then, on October 12th, 1492, just before dawn, a cry rang out from the lookout. "Land!" Land! Columbus had done it. He had discovered a new world. They landed on what is now the Bahamas, on an island he named San Salvador. The people they met were kind, simple, and welcoming. Columbus believed he had reached India, so he called them Indians. He wrote in his journal, "These lands are filled with gold, beauty and innocence." But he had no idea. He had stepped onto the continent now known as America. One of his ships, Santa Maria, sank during the voyage home. Still, Columbus returned to Spain in early 1493 with treasures, birds, and tales of paradise. He was welcomed like a hero. The king and queen honored him with titles, gold and glory. He was named Admiral of the Ocean Sea and Governor of the Indies later that year. Columbus set off again, now with 17 ships and over 1,000 men. But this time, the mission wasn't just discovery. It was colonization, to claim lands, build settlements, and bring back wealth. The second journey was darker. The people he left behind in Haiti were dead. Locals resisted Spanish rule. Sailors disobeyed Columbus. Settlements fell into chaos. Greed, disease, and power struggles took over. The hero of the first voyage now faced scandal and criticism. Columbus's dream was slipping. Complaints about his governance poured into the Spanish court. Cruelty, mismanagement, rebellion. In 1500, the king sent an official to investigate. Columbus was arrested, chained, and shipped back to Spain, like a criminal. Crowds were shocked. Is this how we treat the man who gave us the New World? Though Queen Isabella freed him, his power and honor were never restored. His ships were battered. His crew grew sick and angry. He was stranded in Jamaica. He barely made it back alive. May 20, 1506, Columbus died in Valladolid, Spain. No parades, no cheers, no crown. Only his son, a few friends, and fading memories. But the world had already changed. His true impact, Columbus didn't discover a new world. He connected two worlds for the first time in history. Maps changed forever. Trade across oceans began. New cultures collided and merged. The age of exploration truly began. Columbus is both celebrated and criticized today. A visionary, yes. A colonizer, also true. A man who changed the world. Undeniable. Some call him a hero. Some see him as the start of centuries of conquest. But none can erase his name from history. Today, his legacy lives on in Columbus Day monuments across Europe and America. The name of cities, rivers, and streets, and every map where the Americas are drawn. He crossed a sea chasing a dream. He found a land that was never lost. He changed the world and paid the price.